welcome, or welcome back to Language Culture and Dr. Lou. And um, I wanted to talk today about a little, well, concern that's been going around this year. I've read several articles about this, about whether Gen Z is losing their basic communication skills in a way. And this all really got stirred up by a handwriting study from a university in Norway that came out recently, and the results are getting people concerned, which of course I understand that. And so before we get into it, I would like to just remind you that if you enjoy discovering things about language and culture, then you have come to the right place because that's all we do here. So if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, please do consider subscribing. And also, if I could quickly ask you to drop a like on this video, that would really help it in the algorithm. And yeah, so let's get into it. And so I'm gonna, in order to discuss this, I'm gonna sort of react to one summary of this whole thing that was published a couple months ago in a free newsletter that's named The Centrist. It's named just Centrist, and they didn't give a specific author credit for it. It just said summarized by the centrists. And so I figured this little summary is nice to give us a little nutshell of what's being discussed, because all the articles I've seen written about this are saying more or less the same thing, in other words. So I think this is a good place to start. And so the title is Gen Z is Losing Handwriting and Maybe Basic Communication Skills, because this has been a big concern lately, because people are deciding not to bother learning how to read and write by hand, or rather, they're being pushed into it by being pushed into write from the beginning using screens and keyboards and all this. Um, and so does it matter? Is there any reason why we should still be writing by hand, even though we have all this technology now and we use digital writing on the internet and all that, typing things in? So, what's the problem if people are stopping to write by hand? Well, I'll tell you, there are big problems with it because it doesn't end up just being about sloppy handwriting. It ends up being about our basic communication skills and a lot of our abilities to think, to remember things and understand things and all that. It's all related to learning to write by hand during your formative years, meaning during primary and secondary education, especially. And so, what's the big problem going on here? Well, for more than 5,000 years, right? And this article is saying 5,500 years, but it's again well over 5,000 years. Handwriting has been central to human communication, but new research suggests that Gen Z may be the first generation to lose the ability to read and write by hand, and that is alarming to me because I think it's important that we be able to communicate. We have digital literacy, which means a lot of typing and understanding type things, as well as being not a total weirdo on social media and fitting in with everybody else. That's important too. But the thing is, um, I don't think we can actually give up on handwriting already because it's important for your brain and for your basic communication skills. So let's get a little more into it. And so the study I mentioned was a handwriting study done by the University of Stavanger, which is a public research university in the city of Stavanger, which is in the country of Norway. And so they did a handwriting study, and they report that about 40% of young people born between the late 90s and the early 2000 teens struggle to communicate effectively by hand. By the way, these are people who these days would be in their late teens or in their 20s. We're talking Generation Z here. Um, and yeah, and this study is what's getting everybody a buzzing about it. And so to me too, I think this is interesting because the people studied in here looked into the study itself, and these were university students. So these are people who have completed their primary education and the secondary education and even gone on to continue at the university level. And still, a good 4 out of 10 of them can't really communicate well by handwriting. That's a little alarming. So, and one other thing that should be noticed, this research study was done in Norway on students over there. So this isn't necessarily a huge sample of Generation Z from every single country around the world, right? And so a lot of people are saying that the reason why Gen Z members can't really communicate well by hand, at least a lot of them can't. People are blaming this on social media, and which is understandable because um, people in Gen Z and the generation Alpha, after that generation Alpha, we got to worry about them too. They have grown up with screens and typing and stuff like this and exposed to social media from a young age on. And so social media, keyboards, and touchscreens have totally replaced pen and paper, not just in school, but also in other aspects of our daily lives, especially when we're socializing with each other online as opposed to in person. And so, one big thing that worries me about this is what it says lower down is experts warn that this shift is not trivial. Handwriting is linked to memory, comprehension, and the ability to form coherent arguments. So this means we're not just talking about uh, sloppy handwriting or an ability to write by hand. We're also talking about when you learn how to write by hand and develop your handwriting skills during your formative years, you're also developing your memory and your ability to understand language and concepts as they come in, as well as your ability to describe these to somebody else, to communicate thoughtfully to somebody else about it. So that's a whole lot more being lost than just communication skills. It's also a basic thinking skills. And so, again, I will come down on the side of people should learn both ways, handwriting as well as digital literacy, so typing and reading stuff online and all that. All of this is very important. So we shouldn't just be replacing the one with the other. I think they both need to coexist right now. And again, because handwriting is linked to your uh, development, and you're developing your skills in memory and understanding things. And yeah, and if we can't really thoughtfully communicate to each other, then that's a problem for culture and society now, isn't it? And now, of course, we have plenty of professors who are quoted in this, well, Turkey today. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I don't speak Romanian anyway. I mean, Norwegian, sorry. Um, and which I'm assuming that is a Norwegian paper because the university was in Norway. But anyway, so professors have been quoted saying that university students show little knowledge of basic writing structure. They often avoid paragraphs, rely on short, broken sentences, and sometimes even come to class without pens, without a writing utensil. And I know that this study was done very far away from here, but uh, I'm teaching a course in a university in New York State, so in the United States. And I have noticed a lot of the same things where students, yeah, they won't really, many of them anyway. I'm not saying all, because some are still very proficient writers, but some are avoiding whole paragraphs, which means your writing is not well organized and it's less easy to follow for somebody else. And I've been wondering, how the heck did you get through elementary school and junior high and high school and all of that, and even get accepted into college and start studying in college without developing an ability to write paragraphs or even a want to write paragraphs or anything? And also, yeah, it's several times a week. I have students ask me to borrow a pen because they didn't bring the one to class. And that to me is kind of crazy. Like, how could you show up in class without even thinking to bring a writing utensil with you? That to me just says that handwriting is the last thing on their mind, right? Anyway, so yeah, it's all pretty concerning. And of course, lots of people, such as this professor mentioned here, are attributing this to the influence of social media's clipped reactive style. And that's true that when you're reading a post on social media, whichever platform it be, you don't want to read several paragraphs because that's not how we communicate online on social media, right? It's more about using emojis and just quick reactive responses to things, which I think is part of what makes it so easy to just dismiss other people online instead of developing an understanding of what they're actually trying to say, or even conveying a good argument for what you're trying to say and how you're thinking. Anyway, so I would agree that we can in part attribute this to the influence of social media's clipped reactive style, sure. Um, but I think it's also because, well, people were not pushed into learning how to read and write by hand very much when they were little during their formative years. So I say we got to do a lot better with Generation Alpha than we did with Generation Z as far as educating them in their language skills in the primary and secondary educations, because Gen Z, well, it might be the first generation to lose this skill, but if it does completely go down with Gen Z, what's the likelihood that any generations after them will have any better skills than that? Not much, in my opinion. So again, like I mentioned earlier, this goes beyond just sloppy handwriting. The implications are much, much worse, because those in the know, the research is very much in the know. They argue that the loss of pen and paper handwriting might erode more reflective personal communication, replacing it with quick, impulsive exchanges. And that's a really good point there, because what we're losing out on, which has been something that helped shape human civilization and society since, well, for more than 5,000 years now, is thoughtful communication between people, being able to really explain ourselves and being able to really understand other people, and discuss things with each other. All this uh, is helped, is helped to make possible. What is helping making all this possible is when we learn to read and write by hand. as little kids and then as teenagers and all this. This all helps us develop a more thoughtful communication style, which can help society kind of stay together, stay coherent, and all that instead of fracturing us apart. And there is the big concern for now, for the future anyway, is going to be our future generations, like Generation Alpha and whoever comes after them. Are they going to be able to balance digital fluency, so a digital literacy, basically, with the age-old skills that helped shape human society? And by that, I mean writing by hand and completing full sentences, maybe with multiple clauses in them and everything. And by the way, learning how to construct a paragraph, it's not just a writing thing. It also helps you organize your thoughts and helps you construct a coherent argument um, orally with other people. So anyway, I'm saying that way too much is being lost when we're giving up on writing by hand. And so we got to really improve how we're educating future generations, because this trend noticed under Gen Z is really alarming to me. But it's not too late. If you're Gen Z and you're still a teenager, I suggest go ahead and brush up on your handwriting skills before you make it to university, because that will help you with memory and comprehension and an ability to write a decent paper and to with a well organized, coherent argument in it. All this is very important. So I want to know what you think about this too. Do you think it's okay to just replace handwriting entirely by writing in a digital space or typing and all that? Or do you think there's some value to keeping handwriting around as well? I would like to hear that. And so please do leave a comment about that, expressing your opinion. I will be happy to review that and react to it. I would love to get a little conversation going here. Thank you so much for watching my take on this little thing going around and the worries about Gen Z possibly possibly losing their ability to communicate, because uh, that communication ability um, is fostered more if we learn to read and write by hand. And without doing that, uh-oh, is the future lost? I don't know. Again, please let me know in the comments. And if you haven't given a thumbs up, a like to this video yet, please do. It will really help it in the algorithm. And I look very much to talking to you in my next video. And so until then, I'll catch you around next time. Bye-bye.